One of the reasons why I liked Dark of the Moon was just how fucking weird it was. The main bulk of the story is about a moon landing conspiracy theory, though instead of the Apollo mission being fake, the astronauts were sent up to explore a Cybertronian crash site. Then, there's the explanation that the Chernobyl disaster was caused by Cybertronian technology on the fritz, and there's a massive bird going around and murdering rocket scientists. And this is all within the first half hour or so. Today, I'd like to talk about the Wreckers, 3 Scottish accented engineers who transform into NASCAR stock cars. Heavily modified NASCAR stock cars. With guns. Naturally, 11-year-old me was enamored with them, and I wanted all of their figures. Roadbuster was my very first Dark of the Moon figure I opened, and while I eventually got Topspin as a birthday present from one of my high school friends, I never did get Leadfoot, especially considering how unlikely getting one in the first place was to begin with. Now, Studio Series is promising us new versions of the Wreckers in all their screen-accurate glory. Welcome to Kit Katastrophe. My name is Kit, and today we'll be taking a look at Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class Roadbuster. This figure was released in 2020 as part of Wave 9 of the Deluxe assortment, and represents Roadbuster's appearance in the 2011 film Transformers Dark of the Moon. Hasbro waved the green flag for the Wreckers to enter Studio Series with, funnily enough, the green one. Roadbuster is loosely based on the number 88 Chevrolet Impala driven by longtime NASCAR driver Dale Earnhardt Jr. More specifically, Roadbuster is based on a livery which was used on and off with minor changes from 2008 to 2011. Of course, you wouldn't be able to tell that considering nearly the entire car is covered in armor plating, weapons, or other intense modifications that I really doubt would be legal in a NASCAR-sanctioned race. There aren't very many things that would tip someone off that this was a stock car in a former life. The NASCAR logo is tampographed on both sets of missile launchers, and the windows have the traditional netting, even though on real stock cars the netting is only on the driver's side. Oh, and I almost forgot the massive red 88s on the doors and the white 88 up top. There's also an Impala logo tampographed just above the bumper-mounted machine gun, though I wouldn't call that NASCAR specific. It seems Hasbro went for just the NASCAR license, as in the real film, the places these logos occupy were taken up by National Guard logos. I suppose this was done so that Hasbro wouldn't have to pay for more sponsor licenses, as the NASCAR logo would be reused for Topspin and Leadfoot. It looks like Studio Series Topspin won't have his Lowe's sponsor, and it would be obvious that Leadfoot is going to be a Target exclusive, so the lack of other sponsors isn't a big deal. Also, to skip out on paying for a Goodyear license, the tires are tampographed with the words Ultra and Wreckers as a reference to his subunit. Even if the livery isn't quite as colorful and capitalistic as a real stock car, this green and white deco still looks great. I really like the front bumper in particular, which has a nice color placement. Of course, there's more to Roadbuster than his deco. The sculpt work is amazing, bringing out all of the on-screen car's design quirks. At the front, there's a machine gun sticking out of the quote-unquote grill, which is actually a separate piece that needs to be removed for transformation. There are more guns sculpted into the hood, and I really like how the mechanical greeblage partially obscures the 88s. The rear-mounted missile launchers are on platforms which can swivel outwards, and are also on ball-jointed arms which allow for even more mobility. The spoiler up top looks absolutely fierce with a capital fuck, and at the rear is a screen-accurate thruster rocket. The peg inside is actually compatible with Siege blast effects, so you can equip Roadbuster with some exhaust plumage. One surprising aspect of this vehicle mode is just how close he is in size with Dark of the Moon Deluxe Class Topspin. Unlike that line's version of Roadbuster, Topspin and Studio Series Roadbuster look like they belong together in a group. It's just a shame that Leadfoot never got a release in this country. Remember just one video ago where I was praising Off-Road Bumblebee's transformation for being impressively clean and fun to perform? Yeah, Roadbuster's is the complete opposite of that. Roadbuster is one of the most frustrating and poorly designed shell formers in the entire Studio Series line. The entire middle section of the vehicle mode tucks away into his backpack, and not in a good way either. Each and every panel collides with all of the others, and there's hardly any room whatsoever for the arms to fold out. Once you've finally managed to collapse that fiberglass cape, the backpack doesn't even want to lock into the torso. There is a tab at the base of Roadbuster's neck that goes into a slot on the backpack, but for whatever reason, I can't get the connection to lock. Knowing me, I'm probably doing something wrong. If anyone in the comments knows what's up, I'll probably make an update whenever I review Studio Series Topspin. Anyway, the shoulder mass is kind of a non-event as you bring the missile launchers forward, which have nowhere to lock in this position, and you kind of do whatever you feel like to the fake netting on the insides of his pauldrons. I like to flip them inwards since they're flipped outwards in car mode, even if the on-screen model has them flipped outwards in robot mode. That awful transformation results in a short, fat, ugly robot mode. Judging by his scant appearances in the Dark of the Moon film, Roadbuster was none of these. This robot mode, in my mind, can only be described as a mess. Hoping for this figure to look good from any angle is an exercise in futility, as it's clear as day from all perspectives that this robot mode is compromised due to a shit transformation with metric tons of kibble. The legs seem to have gotten off the cleanest, as they actually integrate the mass of the alternate mode, though they are pretty dumpy. The backpack is a complete joke, looking more like a turtle shell than anything else. The shoulder spires are clumsy and sloppy, and the chest is just fake. It's not like the actual vehicle had these hood pieces anyway, but it's still disappointing. However, it does continue that really nice stripe detailing from the true bumper, which I appreciate. These white stripes actually do wonders to break up the color scheme in robot mode. Also, Roadbuster's head sculpt is just as good as any other. As much as some people may hate the fact that many Transformers head designs were beginning to look too human, I think Roadbuster manages to have lots of human-like features, such as the beard and facsimile of a baseball cap, while still looking wholly robotic. I really like the sunglasses-styled visor, even if the on-screen version was red. I also like how versatile the shoulder-mounted rocket pods are, as they're able to point just about anywhere you want them to. Just as in vehicle mode, Roadbuster's sole accessory is that piddly small minigun, which I initially thought was just a recolor of the one which came with Studio Series Brawl, and was proven incorrect. It's meant to go onto Roadbuster's left arm, if you want to be movie accurate, though I prefer to mount it on one of his shoulders. It looks happy up there. Now I want to preface this articulation segment by bringing up something I noticed while filming it, that being Roadbuster's color is quite different in person than what it looks like on camera. I only just noticed this a minute or two ago. On camera, he looks very, very, very teal, almost turquoise, whereas in person, he's more of a regular, really rich pastel sort of green. So the color that you're seeing on screen right now does not quite represent what he looks like in person. So keep that in mind. His articulation, however, is not that great. He has a ball-jointed head that allows him to look left and right in a little bit of a 120-degree arc, something around there. He can actually look up and look down just a little bit. It's just a few degrees of range in that axis, but he can also tilt his head rather sassily and derisively, so he can make fun of people for being stupid or something. The shoulders are likewise ball-jointed, but these massive kibble chunks hanging off of them bang into the backpack, so you have to maneuver them out of the way, and even then it doesn't really work that well. They can go all the way around, as you can see there. These flaps can move in and out. This is screen accurate, this is not, but it's the way I prefer to have it displayed. The missile launchers are on a ball joint connected to a stalk connected to another ball joint that allows them to move all over the place. The bicep swivels are actually really stiff on my copy. They're kind of hard to move, and I'm afraid of breaking these really thin double-jointed elbows that allow for a really impressive arc in the elbow. The wrist can move in for transformation, though it doesn't really look natural. There's nothing at the waist because of all this bullshit that goes on in the back, and it still doesn't peg in. Even my friend Arkham Knight Rider says that it doesn't peg in on his copy, so maybe it's not just me being stupid. The legs are ball-jointed at the hip, and they can go all the way outwards. There's a really nice cut in there, and allows for a very weak front kick, mostly because The very big thighs bump into these polygons here, right above my fingernail, but you can bring the leg outward for not much more of a high kick, or rather, once you get the thigh swivel involved, it can be a lot better. The thigh swivels, indeed, rotate 360 degrees. It got caught for a second there on some piece of rogue geometry, I assume. The knees bend about 90 degrees, which is pretty cool, and the feet can tilt forward due to transformation, so that allows for walking poses, or sliding poses, or squatting poses, or what have you. So Roadbuster isn't exactly as posable as many other figures, especially in the War for Cybertron range, but he does have pretty much everything you need, though he does have quite a lot of limitations due to just his design in general, like the shoulders, this backpack, just the sculpt. So he's rather limited, and you're gonna have a little bit of a difficult time trying to get any meaningful poses out of him. So it's kind of a really steep learning curve, so just be warned. It's really cool that after the rather confusing inconsistency of the Wreckers in the original Dark of the Moon toy line, we finally have a deluxe-class Roadbuster with an accurate alternate mode. Shame that it's shit. I still like it, but that's mostly because of that sexy vehicle mode of his that I've been wanting in my collection for 11 years. Pretty much everything else about this figure is subpar at best, with the exceptions of the paint and the sculpt work. The transformation is an abysmal mess that spits in the face of all things fun, with some seriously questionable choices. The robot mode is similarly unpolished, with unflattering proportions, restrictive kibble, and just general malaise. The stock car mode is the only thing preventing me from having buyer's remorse with this figure, though luckily Next Wave's Topspin figure looks more promising, so maybe Roadbuster will be fully worth it someday. In the here and now, sadly, I don't think Roadbuster is any better than tragic. If you liked this video or otherwise found it helpful or informative, then please subscribe for more reviews like this in the future. Thanks to everyone for getting me to 325 subs, and feel free to suggest topics for future reviews in the comments. When we return, I'll be taking a look at the first Earthrise figure I bought, one which, so far at the time of recording, remains my favorite. This has been Katastrophe. Transform and roll out.